Body Love. I'm here again with the fabulous David Gillespie. He's the best-selling author of Sweet Poison and a Sweet Poison Quit Plan, How to Kick Your Sugar Habit and Lose Weight. So we've just filmed part 1 and part 2, and if you want more background on how David got involved with this wonderful process of kicking sugar, losing 40 kilos, please go back and watch video 1 and 2 that's jam-packed with heaps of wonderful information. So we're going to get straight into the things that I really want to talk about, which is, if I go on your quit plan, sugar quit plan, do I have to give up fruit?
Not entirely.
Because I love a good strawberry.
Well, if you're going to eat any fruit, strawberry's a good one to eat.
Why is that?
Well, berries in general have a fairly high fibre content and a fairly low sugar content.
So we got the strawberries, raspberries, blueberries.
All berries generally. And in fructose, what you want is high fibre, low sugar. The fibre, because the science says that the fibre helps you metabolize the sugar and helps to clear some of the dangerous aspects of fructose.
What about the other fruits?
Other fruits, okay, occasionally, but don't overdo it. And eat them in their original packaging. So do not juice them, do not puree them, do not dry them. Because all you're doing when you do that is concentrating the sugars. When you juice an orange, you are keeping the sugar and throwing away everything else. So the idea is to, if you're going to eat an orange, eat the whole orange. Get all of the fibre, get the bulk,
and then that sugar's released more slowly into the bloodstream. Is that what it is too? Or?
Not necessarily. The sugar's no less damaging, but the fibre is helping to clear the sugar quickly, and as long as you keep the level of consumption below, say for an adult, 2 pieces a day, you're probably going to be fine.
I was also told that eating apples, because they have a lower GI, right? Lower sugar glucose index.
The reason they have a lower GI is they got higher amount of fructose. Fructose is the lowest GI sugar. So GI is a meaningless measure when it comes to deciding whether or not to consume fructose.
Okay, so if you're on a lower carb diet, are apples, like 1 apple a day is okay?
Apple is just about the worst fruit you could eat.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. So apple is one of the highest fructose fruits and lowest fibre fruits you can eat.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So the 2 worst are apples and grapes.
Okay.
The 2 best are pears and kiwi fruit.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting.
In fruit. Berries are better than all of them.
Very good. Okay, yeah, I keep them frozen. I think it's a really good thing. At night time, I usually get sugar cravings, so I keep frozen raspberries in the freezer, and I just have a handful of those, and I like that. So what about a very important question that I'm sure many of our viewers will want to know about, and that is, can we have alcohol?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not the alcohol you've got to watch out for, it's the things you mix with it.
Okay.
So a glass of a dry wine, if it doesn't taste sweet, doesn't have any of the sugar remaining. And people often say, well, hang on, isn't wine grape juice? Yes, but what's happened is they've let the grape juice go off. And in doing that, the fermentation process converts the sugar in the juice into alcohol.
Okay, and so that's not as dangerous to our health, or?
Alcohol is not a great thing to have in your diet, particularly if you're trying to lose weight, because it does slow the process down. But it does remove some of the more damaging aspects of consuming the fructose. So the answer there is, there's no problem with alcohol. It won't re-addict you. It won't re-addict you to sugar, but you got to watch it.
Why is it though? One of the things I don't like drinking alcohol. It makes me feel completely out of sorts the next day, even if I just drink 1 glass. So I'm kind of blessed and damned, I think. But it makes me really crave food. Yep. Why is that?
I haven't looked into how the metabolism of alcohol in terms of food cravings, but
it's always been like that. I think my body's just like gets into it, or maybe my inhibitions go down and I want to eat more food. I don't know, but it's not a
just like sugar. It is metabolized directly to fat immediately. But most people are not consuming it at the same levels as they're consuming sugar. If the average Australian were to consume as much alcohol as they're consuming sugar, they'd be having 20 standard drinks a day. Now, if you are having 20 standard drinks a day, then you should stop.
Yeah, so then you've got a problem.
That's right.
But in one of our previous interviews, you were saying that the average Australian would eat 1.1 kilos, is that correct, of sugar a week.
Yeah.
Now, how much weight would the average person put on per year with that much sugar?
Assuming nothing else is affecting their weight, 1.1 kilos of sugar translates to a little bit under half a kilo, let's say 400 grams of fat.
Per week?
Per week. So that means that in a year...
That's 22 or something kilos.
That's right. Now, most people are not putting on 22 kilos a year. So there are other effects coming into the equation, but you're certainly not helping by consuming that amount of sugar.
I can absolutely guarantee that if I ate yogurt every day and a glass of juice and started adding some tomato sauce to my meat every night, I would at least gain between 1.5 and 2 kilos a week. My body, I'm a fat protein. If you look at metabolic types, 70% or 75% of people are fat protein efficient, not carbohydrate, sugar efficient. We're not meant for it, are we? We're not built for it. My body would just absolutely blossom in all areas I don't want it to blossom. My ass would get quite big, I'm sure.
Well, but sugar will do that to anybody. Now, the rate it will do it will vary from individual
person to person, and depending on how much exercise. But I think the other point to make is not just looking at weight, right? But it's also how it makes us feel. Like, to consume sugar like that,
much more important than the weight. Now, the weight is just a symptom of something else.
Yes.
The weight is a symptom of the damage that the fructose half of sugar is doing to your body. Some people get the symptoms, some people don't.
And what are the typical symptoms?
So some of the other results of consuming sugar are the development of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, stroke, kidney disease, and the encouragement and growth in various forms of cancer, as well as Alzheimer's, erectile dysfunction, one for the gentleman.
Yes.
And
no sugar, boys.
and really a very, very long list of diseases cascade through from the effect that fructose is having on your body. Putting on a bit of weight is actually the least worrying part about consuming sugar.
Yeah, there's like the sad fact of we don't really hear a lot about cancer at the moment, which is just an epidemic. But we don't hear a lot about the heart attacks and like young women even having. I think heart disease is actually one of the number one killers, isn't it? And diabetes.
Diabetes is growing very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And so is kidney disease.
Yes.
And from a health system perspective, that's very important because both of those diseases take a long time to kill you and cost a lot in terms of medical resources while it's killing you.
Yes.
Whereas a heart attack, and this might sound a little bit...
it's sort of an instant thing, and
it's instant. Yeah. It doesn't cost the health system a lot of money.
I suppose where the cost then does come, however, though, is family and that deep loss from the people that you leave behind. Because I do know of people who've gone, like their husbands have gone jogging, maybe a little bit overweight. They're doing this high stress, quite hard on the heart exercise. They've got a lot of stress. They're drinking a lot of alcohol, eating the wrong foods, and then they drop dead.
One of the worst costs to diseases associated with sugar in things like type 2 diabetes. Right now in Australia, 9 limb amputations a day are occurring because of limb amputations a day. So people losing an arm or a leg every day, 9 people, because of type 2 diabetes. And this is a disease that is growing extraordinarily rapidly. So the real human toll of this is very, very significant.
Yes.
It is destroying people's lives bit by bit, very, very quickly.
Yeah, and I saw a really interesting report that with the type 2 diabetes and the amputations that come with that, that usually people don't wake up early enough. They keep denying it. They don't listen to their bodies. They're sick. They keep getting told by their doctors, they're obviously taking all these pills and whatnot, or they decide not to take the medication, and then feet start going gangrene or whatnot, and there's nothing left that they can really do then except to operate, and that's when it kind of hits home. I've lost a limb, then maybe I might. So how do we impress upon people to start making the change now, because it's not a very pretty sight at that point.
Well, what we've got to start doing is stop making it people's fault.
Yeah.
The dominant health message is that the reason that you are fat or that you have type 2 diabetes or heart disease is because you are lazy, or lack willpower,
yes,
or won't exercise enough.
Well, that's the message, yeah.
That's the message.
Yeah.
And the reality is that it's a chemical reaction that is causing this, and it's caused by a substance that's put into our diet legally.
Well, it's legally by all the big manufacturing companies, food companies that apparently have our best interest at heart. But the thing is that, I think we're making it emotional, moral issue rather than the fact that it is really a chemical, as you were saying, scientific issue that affects the body, like every single person's body in exactly the same way.
That's right.
But I suppose what you're doing with your books, which is so great, is shedding a sense of awareness.
Well, there are
education.
There are two solutions.
Yeah.
Either the government makes it law tomorrow that you can't add fructose to the food supply, and
Yes.
since that's not going to happen, the only other way to do it is to tell people where it is, how to avoid it, and why to avoid it. And
Yes.
that's what I'm doing.
That's fantastic. And you never know, you might go and fight the government. It's been done before. I know that a whole group of guys in the United States sued so the board guys at the FDA that they knew that what they were putting into the junk food. So it's been done. They deny it, but it's actually not true.
Well,
they know what's going
ultimately,
into it.
I'm hoping that one day we'll get to a point where you are not allowed to add this substance to the food supply, and then you won't need books like mine and you won't need videos like this. But for now, it's there and you've got to learn how to avoid it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of work to be done, but it is actually achievable for every person. You've just got to know what to do. So I encourage you to read this fabulous book, The Sweet Poison Quit Plan, and also check out David's site at sweetpoison.com.au. And thank you again for joining me.
Pleasure.
And you've been watching Ingrid Arna at mybodylove.com. Please email me at ingrid@mybodylove.com if you have any questions or you'd like me to do a video on a particular subject matter. That would be great. And feel free to make a comment here below. Thank you so much.
Imagine all the girls